What if I told you that you can put any buff on any weapon? Do I have your attention? Today's game-breaking glitch is basically the equivalent of tumble buffing from Dark Souls 3. If you've ever seen a speedrun, you know what it is, but in case you don't, it's just a fancy term for you can buff your weapon with anything you want, even if the game doesn't allow you to. Usually, somber weapons in this game cannot be buffed. You cannot put bleed on Rivers of Blood, you cannot put frost on it, you cannot put death on it, because it's a somber weapon. Only the non-somber weapons and Bloodhound Fang, for some reason, can be buffed. But with this glitch, you can circumvent it, and you can put a buff on weapons that are not allowed to be buffed. For example, a Frost Rivers of Blood, or a Seppuku Rivers of Blood, which causes some ridiculous imbalance. In order to perform this glitch, you have to get a hard turnaround, meaning you have to walk forward and then 180 your control stick down immediately, and then in the middle of the turning animation you have to input the weapon art and then open your inventory and unequip the weapon. If you do it right, the buff will just go to your main hand, which is why the weapon you want to buff should be in the right hand and the buff that you want on that weapon should be two-handed in the left hand. And it will allow you to put just absolutely anything on any weapon. It also allows you to execute weapon arts with other weapons, like for example Destined Death on a different weapon, but those will mostly bug out. What's interesting to note is that the projectiles will actually keep the properties, so if you put Frost on Reduvia, the projectile will also proc Frostbite. So for the rest of the video I'm going to show you some ridiculous cases of abusing this on all sorts of weapons. For example, the Scorpion Stinger with bleed on it. Scarlet Rot and bleed is kind of a disgusting combination. And you can also use it on the Saint Trina sword, which allows you to bleed and sleep the enemy at the same time, which would be especially overpowered for Gods Can Duel. And if you're wondering what happens if you tumble buff your fists, just like in DS3, those will actually keep the property, which allows your fists to inflict bleed, frost, poison, scarlet rot, basically anything, which makes fist only completely viable. And to further prove that anything can be buffed, you can even buff your seal, which it works, it's just obviously not worth it. This right here is for all of the PvP players watching my channel. You can put anything on Vykes Spear as well, and then the madness will bug out in the sense that it doesn't do damage, but it will still inflict the status. So you can cover the ground in Frostbite, and you know what kind of idea I immediately had. Like, you can literally cover the ground in death by putting death onto the spear. If you put frost on the bubble shower, the bubbles will inflict frost, and it also works with bleed. If you put bleed on Destined Death, the weapon art will actually inflict bleed, which once again works with every other status effect as well. And probably the most overpowered one is putting frost on a magma blade, because the lava on the ground will inflict frostbite, and then immediately cancel the frostbite effect and inflict it again. Hand of Millennia becomes actually viable, a single weapon art causes a bleed, which usually is not the case. And if you put Crack Blade on the Great Club, which is already the most poise-heavy attack in the game, and then drink a flask, you can do upwards of like 60 to 70 poise in a single hit, which is... I can't even describe how overpowered that is. So yeah, all in all with this glitch, you can basically think of any combination and it's gonna work as long as it doesn't involve too many projectiles. The Rivers of Blood, the ranged weapon art, will inflict whatever debuff you have on. So you can also inflict Death Blight with the Rivers of Blood weapon art, or Sleep for example. Other than that, tumble buffing is back and this game is even more broken. So thanks for watching.